All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're opening up a forensic audit into a technology that, well, it supposedly exists in the deepest, darkest shadows of the classified, black-budget world. And look, I know what you're thinking, but this isn't meant to be science fiction. According to the source material we're looking at, this is the operational reality behind a counterfeit form of physical immortality, what's being called the ultimate hostile takeover of the human soul.
This quote, right here, really frames the whole conversation we're about to have. It's the explosive thesis of our audit today. The core claim is that the true ambition of these so-called Archon bloodlines isn't just to rule the world, it's to achieve a twisted kind of immortality by literally hijacking living, breathing human hosts.
So, what are we actually talking about when we say consciousness transfer? As it's defined here, this isn't some kind of magic or mystical ritual. No, it's a cold, methodical, technological procedure. I want you to think of it almost like a psychic-level parasitic infection, a forced imprinting, where a new consciousness, a new operating system, just overwrites the original, seizing total control of the host's body.
Now, an idea this wild, it just begs the question, right? Where's the proof? Is there any basis for this at all? Well, the source material argues that the proof isn't buried in some secret file cabinet. It's hidden in plain sight through a strategy they call the revelation of the method. Let's take a look at the central role Hollywood allegedly plays in all of this.
So the argument goes something like this. Hollywood is being used as a kind of mass confessional. By taking these absolutely forbidden concepts and packaging them as fiction, as blockbuster movies and TV shows, it slowly, drip by drip, desensitizes the public to the reality of them. It's a psychological trick, you see. By showing us what they're doing, they believe they get our unspoken, tacit consent to actually do it.
And this table just illustrates that breadcrumb trail perfectly. You start with something seemingly simple, like child's play. What does it establish? The baseline principle: a soul can be moved through a ritual. Okay. Then you get to X-Men, which introduces the next critical piece. You need a prepared vessel, a blank slate host. Then comes Get Out, which gives us that perfect, chilling metaphor for the imprisoned host consciousness, the sunken place, while showing a more neurological kind of transfer. And finally, you have Altered Carbon. This is what they say is the technological endgame. Consciousness is digitized, and bodies are just disposable sleeves, making death a problem only for the poor.
Okay, so we've seen the breadcrumbs they've supposedly left for us in fiction. Now let's get to the core of this whole audit, the alleged operational reality. How would a consciousness actually get swapped from one person to another? The source material lays out a cold, methodical, three-phase protocol that it claims is the key to the entire thing.
These are the three core steps. It's described as a weaponized application of the physics of consciousness. This isn't guesswork. It's presented as a repeatable, scientific process for staging a hostile takeover of a human body. So let's break down each phase one by one.
The first phase is, well, it's absolutely horrifying. To prepare the new vessel, the host's original personality, their soul, their memories, it all has to be shattered. This is allegedly done using the depatterning techniques perfected by Dr. Ewan Cameron in MKUltra, using a brutal combination of extreme trauma, electroshock, and drugs to completely wipe the mind clean. You're creating a literal blank slate.
Okay, next up, the operator's consciousness, the person doing the hijacking, has to be extracted and recorded. This is supposedly done using tech based on the phantom DNA effect. Now, this is a fringe scientific concept, but it proposes that our DNA gives off an energy field that can be detected and recorded even after the physical DNA is gone. The process supposedly creates a soul file, which is essentially a digitalized quantum information version of the operator's entire being.
And this brings us to the final critical phase, the download. The operator's soul file is broadcast into a very precisely tuned resonant field that contains the prepared blank slate host. Now, the transfer is said to work because of a principle called morphic resonance. This idea that systems have a kind of collective memory, that patterns of information can be transferred without any physical connection. In this case, the operator's complex consciousness pattern simply overwrites the host's now empty mind. It's like installing new software on a freshly wiped hard drive.
So, that's the alleged three-step process: vessel prep, source extraction, resonant transfer. I mean, if this is really happening, what would it actually look like? What are the telltale signs? How could anyone possibly spot this out in the wild? Well, the source material claims there is one primary forensic indicator that we should all be looking for. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. The concept of recasting. This is supposedly the main piece of evidence you can see with your own eyes. A public figure, an actor, a politician, you name it, disappears from the public eye for a while. The official story is medical treatment or maybe plastic surgery. And when they come back, they seem different. The facial structure is subtly off, their eyes look dead, and their whole personality feels robotic. The theory posits that this isn't just surgery, it's a successful re-sleeving operation.
So, you have to ask, what is the point of all this? Why develop such a horrifying technology in the first place? And this brings us to what the source material describes as the transhumanist endgame, a fundamental, all-out war to replace natural, organic humanity.
Posing the question this directly really gets to the heart of it all. According to this framework, consciousness transfer isn't even the final objective. No, that's just one weapon in a much larger war. The real goal is to make humanity controllable, hackable, and ultimately replaceable, right down to the biological level.
And these technologies are presented as the key components of that plan. First, you have the Internet of Bodies, which basically turns our own biology into a data collection network for them. Then, brain-computer interfaces like Neuralink create a literal backdoor to our minds, a direct access port. And finally, synthetic biology is described as an operating system for your cells. You put them all together, and you've built the perfect architecture for a completely hackable human being.
And this really brings us to the final, most chilling question of all. Because if this technology is real, if it works as described, it reduces the human soul to nothing more than a file, a piece of data that can be copied, transferred, deleted, and overwritten. It completely reframes our very essence as something programmable, a ghost that can be evicted from its own machine. And that leaves us to wonder, what then is the nature of our own identity?